Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Ask Swami with Swami Sarvapriyananda, May 21st, 2017. So this is going to be a two-parter. It's only in about an hour and 7 minutes long. So I'm kind of curious as to what questions we have this time around. Let's go ahead and get started.
So this morning, of course, we also have the Ask Swami question answer session. We get questions from all over the world, and we select a few of those questions, and some of those questions are put at this session. And also the live audience here. You're also welcome to ask questions. Just raise your hand, come up here, and then ask the question. You have to ask it in the microphone because they are recording it and it's going to be uploaded onto YouTube. So, Diane, could we have the first question?
Yes, the first question comes from Adam in Atlanta, Georgia, who has a question about spiritual doubt. And he charted for you in his email that...
Just a minute, are you getting the microphone? Okay. Yes.
His email, his 4-page email.
4 pages, oh my
Yes.
God.
It charted basically his path from his upbringing in a Protestant household through atheism, Buddhism, and meditation. And then he had a waning of belief and then took 2 trips to India, after which he returned to meditation and sacred texts, but then was suddenly overwhelmed by doubt in God, Guru, and meditation. So his question to you is, in what way is doubt a part of spiritual practice? I can't help recall the Apostle Thomas, referred to as Doubting Thomas, who questioned the foretold resurrection of Christ. Jesus said, "Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed." I very much identify with Thomas in that I am seeking proof of what I am not sure, and yet Thomas became one of Jesus's more prolific disciples. So I suppose that all is not lost.
All right, all is certainly not lost. And thank you for this, a beautiful summary of a 4-page email.
That's very strange. Interesting. He's trying so hard for this, and don't get me wrong, I think you should try, absolutely, and definitely probably find a good guru. He seemed to have lost his way, like I said, he was a Protestant atheist, something, and a meditator. I'm sorry. And then he went to India again. There's this thing about, like, in Acharya Prashant's video, where this Westerner from Finland went to India hoping that some kind of magic spark will happen. And don't get me wrong, it can happen. It can, absolutely. Sometimes it does. Like Sadhguru, whenever he was younger, he went to this, I believe it was a hillside, and I believe there was a tree up there. I can't quite remember now, even though I heard the audiobook and him explain it a few times. But it wasn't until he went there, I believe, that he had a spiritual experience. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Because I know it took him there because he was so bored of school, and he would always run away to that place, and that's where he had his epiphany, where he realized the greatness and goodness he can bring to mankind, and he quit school, and he was going to spread it all the world and solve all problems in a couple of years, because he had it all figured out. Now he's some age and still hasn't spread it enough, but but yes. That's the thing about, you know, going to this. But don't. I think the problem is they're trying to say, oh, I need to go here to figure it out. It's the only way to figure it out, and they're just looking all in the wrong places. I think they should go to India if their inspirations come from there, just to see if something sparks up. But if you're expecting so much from it, it's not going to happen. This is what I say about, again, another kid from Acharya Prashant's video, where he's saying he's running out of time, and people explained to me what he meant by that. And if you're trying to rush it, it's not going to happen. You're trying to force it. I thought of something weird about pooping. You know, if you're trying to really poop really hard, it's not going to happen. You have to let it come out naturally. Sorry, bad example, but you get my point. So let's see what Swami has to say about this.
Yes, but it's a very good question.
Yeah.
In general, religious life is based on faith. In fact, the term used for religion in this country is faith. What is your faith? What faith do you subscribe to? I do not subscribe to any faith. So faith has become synonymous with religion, though it is not. It is not synonymous with religion, but it has become so in our popular usage.
Yeah.
Now it follows, wherever you are moving ahead based on faith, belief, shraddha, there will also be the danger of doubt. If you base yourself on faith, the crack in the foundation is always doubt. So doubt is an occupational hazard if your religion is based on faith. Now, is all lost? Are we always going to be subject to doubt? You know, there is a saying that in India we believe in karma vada, the law of karma. Good karma leads to punya, merit, and that leads to happiness. Lot of good karma leads to deep faith in the existence of God. So if I have a lot of doubt, I have to ascribe it to my bad karma in past lives. But then again, not all is lost.
Sorry, isn't also doubt considered to be bad karma? Again, when I listen to Sadhguru's audiobook, is the doubt in your mind is what's the accumulation of bad karma. You're generating bad karma because you're doubting your actions, you're doubting whatever it is that you're doing. So, at least from my understanding, if you have doubt in your actions, that's generating bad karma. Let me know if I'm right or wrong.
Not all is lost. Let me take a look at this question from the point of view of Advaita Vedanta. What Advaita Vedanta says is, that thou art, tat tvamasi. In the Chandogya Upanishad, you find it repeated 9 times. The Guru is telling the student, actually it's a father and son. Father is teaching the son, that thou art, tat tvamasi. That standing for God. The primary meaning of the word tat there stands for Saguna Brahman. The closest we can get in English is God. And Tvam, you, stands for the individual, us, the individual being. And Vedanta asserts something dramatic, that thou art, you in reality are nothing different from the reality of God. I mean, Meister Eckhart puts it so beautifully. The ground of my soul and the ground of God are one and the same. He says, ground of God, the ground of my soul. That ground is in Vedanta what we were speaking about, existence, consciousness, bliss. There you and the divine are same. But anyway, let's go a little broader afield and look at the whole sphere of religion through the lens of that thou art. In spiritual life, in spiritual striving, there are 2 approaches possible, depending upon your mental makeup. I have seen in Belur Math, in the monastery, when young people come to become monks, we ask them, why have you become a monk? What are you looking for? And you generally get 2 kinds of answers. One kind is, I am searching for God. I believe that God exists. I believe God can be experienced. So I'm trying to find God. I'm searching for God. I'm looking for God. Seeking God. In terms of that frame, that thou art, what is this person seeking?
Seeking himself.
That.
Oh.
That reality. The reality which he believes is the reality of this universe.
Oh.
There is another kind of spiritual striving. Another group of young people, they say, God is good, fine, very good, but we are not so much interested in that as much as ourselves. Who am I? What am I? What's the meaning of life? Is there an unchanging, immortal reality as Vedanta asserts? What is the secret here? What's going on here? That's the striving.
So one is bhakti, and the other one is jnana, what you are not. Raja's meditation. But the seeking God, external. I thought maybe that thou art, you are God, God is you, or something like that. The definition, but essentially that you are God. So you're seeking God. I thought you're looking for yourself. But I guess he's in that moment. He's essentially, from what I understood, this essentially bhakti yoga, devotion to God as a duality. And then the second one was like God, fine, whatever. I'm seeking a true reality, which is Advaita Vedanta, which all kind of good to have a little bit of everything, but the reality is that you are that, or I'm sorry, I can't remember the phrase, but you are the reality, you are God, you are Brahman, and you are seeking yourself in a sense. But I don't know if it's particular. I don't think it's any one of those. I don't think it's Bhakti, Karma, Raja, or Jnana Yoga. I think that's just straight up Advaita Vedanta, which is a combination of all of them. I think. I haven't quite have a hard definition of Advaita Vedanta, other than I know those are the four yogas that are very much taught in it, and to be a I guess it's non-duality is essentially what it's saying, but it's good to have all four of those and not just any one in particular. You may strongly focus on one, but you tend to have a lot of the others.
So that kind of approach is thou-centered approach. Tvam, you. And these are two different approaches, not only at the individual level, but when you go further afield and look at religions of the world, you notice something dramatic. There are these two kinds of religion. Most obvious, think about, say, in Hinduism, you have a range, the worship of the Divine Mother, worship of Krishna or Rama or Shiva or Vishnu, or God in Christianity or Allah in Islam, the Father in heaven, in the Abrahamic traditions. All of these are what kind of religious tradition? That-centered, God-centered religions. You may say, is there any other kind of religion? And immediately the answer comes to you. For example, Buddhism is an example where they either do not talk about God, or some Buddhist philosophers openly deny the existence of some kind of eternal creator God. Then what are they doing? They're investigating the self. They're looking inwards to see what is the mystery of life here. How can we overcome suffering at this individual level? So an investigation into the self. Not only Buddhism. In Hinduism, if you look at Sankhya philosophy, if you look at the Patanjali Yoga also speaks about God, but in a marginal fashion. God is not the center of Patanjali Yoga. You are the center of Patanjali Yoga. Sankhya, Yoga. If you look at Jainism, so there are religions and religious paths which are self-enquiry, which are dealing with that thou art, the thou-centered, centered on the individual person. And if you look at these religions, there are distinct differences between that. The God-centered religions are mostly devotional, mostly dualistic. There will be temples and churches, and there will be rituals and songs. All of them they are primary festivals, so they are very much centered around God. The thou-centered religions are more meditative, more introverted, more philosophical. They tend to be more austere, maybe sometimes more monastic. I'm generalizing here. You can find ritual and music in plenty in Buddhism. You can. But the thrust is this way. Another point. Each of these approaches, God-centered and self-enquiry, the individual-centered, both of them, I'm not saying self-centered because it makes a different meaning to be self.
I was thinking that God's. I'm sorry. I don't know if that translates to whatever my viewers. It's like self-centered. I was thinking that I was going to pause it and say that, but he beat me to it. I mean, it's if you look at it in the way I know most Westerners, self-centered is a negative thing. It means you only care about yourself. And you don't care about anyone else in a negative way, as in that you're not. As in, like, if you can help someone, you wouldn't do it, but if it helps you, you do it. You're self-centered. You do everything you possibly can to help yourself, but no one else.
Centered. Both of them have advantages and disadvantages. Now we come to the question, doubt. You see, it's in a God-centered religion, the big problem is doubt. The big problem is doubt. Does God exist? In all these God-centered religions, you will find enormous attempts and resources devoted to proving the existence of God. Saint Thomas Aquinas in his The 5 Ways of Establishing an Existence of God, or the great Nayayika, Udayanacharya, in his masterpiece, Nyaya Kusumanjali, he gives 9 proofs of the existence of God. And some people become very interested. Are there proofs of the existence of God? Of course there are. If you look it up, there are proofs of the existence of God. Now Google is there. Right now I think you can Google it. But don't be in a hurry. you will be underwhelmed by those proofs of the existence of God, not overwhelmed. If you believe in the existence of God already, you will find, okay, these are nice. If you don't believe in the existence of God, you will not be convinced by those proofs. In fact, one famous philosopher, I think Appia, or Anthony Kenny, I think, he says that he became a philosopher, he was training to be a minister. And in his theological studies, he came across the proofs of the existence of God. After reading the proofs of existence of God, he decided not to become a minister. He became a philosopher instead. So that's what the proofs of existence of God did. So there's an enormous attempt to justify the existence of God, and always there will be doubt. Sometimes more, sometimes less, sometimes you will not be afflicted with doubt, sometimes you will be really afflicted with doubt, because it is based on belief, based on faith. But look at the other religion, Buddhism or yoga or Sankhya. Look, I have not brought Advaita Vedanta into it yet. There's a reason why. The other kind of approach is where you're investigating the self. That doubt does not come in, because our own existence is beyond doubt. Who doubts that we exist? That I exist, nobody doubts it. My nature, what kind of existence it is. The Buddhist may doubt whether there is a permanent soul. Often they say, but the Buddhists say that there is no soul. Buddhist does not say there is no soul. This is what appears to be the self has a transitory, momentary nature. That's what the Buddhist comes to conclusion. But that there is an experience of existing. I am. This nobody can doubt reasonably. If you do doubt it, though you are the one who is doubting your own existence. If you exist, therefore you can doubt your existence. Shankaracharya says in one of his commentaries, Yaeva tasya nirakarta tasyaiva atmasa. The one who denies the existence of the self, it is the self of the very denier. How can you deny that you exist when you are denying it? It means you exist. So our own existence is not subject to the kind of doubt he's talking about. So is this a problem-free approach, Buddhism or Sankhya or yoga? No, not at all. There are special problems in this path too. You may say that I have no doubt about my own existence. Correct, but that doesn't help me. I exist, but I have a miserable existence. That is the whole problem. I have so much suffering, I have so much problems in life, so many uncertainties, meaninglessness, so many problems in life. So our own existence, though it is not subject to doubt, but it is subject to limitation and suffering and trouble. It's not a solution in itself. That we exist is not a solution. Now what Vedanta does, and look at the other side, the God-centered religions, they don't have this trouble. God, if he, she, it exists, has no trouble at all. God is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. So God has no trouble. God has no problem at all. God is infinite, if he exists. So on that centered religion, there is no problem, because God, if exists, has no problem at all. But there is doubt. On the thou-centered religion, there is no problem of doubt, but there is a problem of limitation, of suffering. That's what Buddha was inquiring. There is suffering, how can we get out of suffering? Now look at what Advaita Vedanta does. Vedanta takes the certitude, the certainty of your own existence, and combines it with the infinity of God. Our own existence is demonstrated to be an infinite, unlimited existence. That's the track that Advaita Vedanta takes up. It takes you into investigation of the self, that you exist without any doubt, and your own existence is investigated, and the apparent limitations, you will find all the limitations are limitation of the body, a limitation of the mind, limitations of our social circumstances. But then Advaita Vedanta points out to you, there is something in you, your existence itself, your awareness itself, Sat Chit Ananda. That's the whole task of Advaita Vedanta. It will point out in your own existence, you will discover infinitude. You'll discover infinitude. Combining that and thou. The whole point is the certainty of your existence combined with the infinitude of God. So I become an infinite existence, and hence overcome the limitations of my individual existence. Hence overcome the doubts related to God's existence. So that's the approach taken by Advaita Vedanta. The doubt which he talks about, does God exist? In in the Himalayas, once somebody asked this question to a Swami, give me an irrefutable proof of the existence of God. Not the refutable proofs, an irrefutable proof of the existence of God. And that Swami replied, why? Your own existence. In Hindi, Ishwar ka astitva mein akatya praman dijiye. And the answer was, aapka apna astitva. That makes sense only when you see God in terms of Advaita Vedanta, because your own existence and God's existence are one and the same. That non-dualistic intuition, when Eckhart says, the ground of God and the ground of my soul are one and the same thing. When Saint Catherine of Genoa, she says, in myself, my me is God, and in me there is nothing else but God. So that oneness, that identity, there is no doubt. It's interesting that there are these two aspects of religion. Doubt is one aspect of religion. You see, when an atheist, who is an atheist? An atheist is a person who doubts the existence of, who is clear that there is no God. An agnostic is a person who doubts the existence of God. But look, both of them are speaking about the God-centered religion. Isn't it true? Every atheist who goes and attacks, whether it's Daniel Dennett or Christopher Hitchens or Richard Dawkins in our day-to-day, they're attacking the God-centered religion, the conception of God. So always it's open to doubt. But you cannot prove that you do not exist. Nobody can attack that conception. Yes, is that existence infinite, truly infinite? That's the task that Advaita Vedanta sets out. So doubt is one side of religion. The other side of religion...
Sorry, I was just thinking all the people he lists that were attacking religion, you know, then trying to attack the person. You don't exist! I have proof! You know, instead of switching to God, switching to the individual. I don't know why I thought of that. I'm atheistic, agnostic. I don't think there's a God out there. But at the same time, you know, do I know that with absolute truth? No, I don't.
It's a beautiful quote from Wittgenstein. He says, religion is the quest for absolute safety, for absolute certainty. He says it's a quest for absolute security. That's a beautiful way of putting it. Religion is the quest for absolute security. I think we'll leave it at that. It's a Vedantic approach to doubt. Yes. Is there a question from the live audience? Anybody? Yes, there's a question. Would you come forward? Come. Tell us your name and ask the question. Use the microphone.
No, Swami. My name is Simar. I have a question from I feel like day-to-day life. So from my upbringing, the way I've been brought up, and the way I've seen it is you grow up, you study, you get to a good job, and you basically get into that life where, and I see it today, like when you are in today's modern world, in corporate world or wherever you are, there is a lot of attention on, like, you need to be very passionate about what you're doing.
Speak in the microphone, yes.
Yeah, you need to be passionate about what you're doing. There should be immense desire, and you should be always thinking about, your work. Right. So, and I feel like if I need to pay actually a lot of attention to, bring up any innovation, to bring up new things, right? A lot of energy goes in there.
Yes.
But then if I have to focus on spiritual side, it also need immense amount of energy and focus and attention. And I feel like if I devote a lot of my time and attention here, I'm somewhere sacrificing on my work.
Yes.
And where I feel like I might not be progressing as much I could have if I'm focused more there.
Yes.
So it brings me into that dilemma of where should I and how should I devote my energy?
Energies, yes. It's an important question. And so you are Swami, you are a monk in a monastery. So you can devote all your energy to realizing God. But we are not monks in monasteries or nuns in nunneries. We are living out there in Manhattan, on Wall Street. So there's a whole samsara to take care of.
I like what Dandapani, the way he answers this question to a degree, is the fact that, and I think it can be done. Dandapani talks about meditation and meditation throughout the entire day, where why are only meditating 25 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 4 hours a day? Why not meditate throughout the entirety of the day? Now perhaps it's a different kind of meditation. It's not one where you can really sit down and focus, but you can, I believe in a way, that you can do a type of, maybe perhaps be in a type of meditative state. It's kind of, I think maybe I am kind of like that, where as in I can focus on my job and not let things affect me. Now I don't know if that's meditation per se, or I am able to separate myself from certain kinds of emotions or certain kinds of stress, because if I need to do something, I can do it. I know what I need to do, but maybe perhaps it's doing things that you're unfamiliar with and you have a time limit. That I can understand as being stressful because you're not quite in control of a lot of things. But I still think even in those situations, maybe you do need a bit of more of a meditative mind so that you're not, being too frustrated. Because in my job, I'm very familiar with the things that I do, that I'm not stressing over it, even though there's sometimes a lot of tasks assigned to me in so little time. But Dandapani talks about being in a meditative state throughout the entirety of the day, and I think that's possible. I don't know if that's what I'm doing, but I'm just saying that most of the day I'm very chill. I'm not saying I'm in Sadhguru's levels, absolutely not. But for the most part, I'm very chill, and I'm not stressed, even though there's a lot of work, even though I have a lot of tasks. I generally, I understand the tasks, I understand what I have to do, and I organize it in a way that I can tackle them appropriately. That way, I don't know if that's being meditative or that's just very good multitask handling stuff. Probably a little bit of both, maybe. And that's how I don't get stressed out so much. And partially the fact that it doesn't, I guess, emotionally affect me because I just understand. I guess that's the thing that pushes. I understand.
The first and foremost thing is, what do I want? I'll give you the answer to your question later, but first of all, we must be very clear about what we want. Let us first of all internally tell ourselves, ascertain our identity as spiritual seekers. See, you're all here, you must be spiritual seekers in some way or the other, in some way. Some may be part of an established and organized religion, some may not be. But you're all spiritual seekers in some sense. Otherwise, why would you come here on a perfectly good Sunday morning? You'd be out there with those tourists or something like, There's so many ways of engaging yourself. So we are spiritual seekers, but we need to admit it to ourselves. Now that does not solve the problem, because the problem still remains that there is the world and there is spiritual life. Here is Vivekananda's speciality. In the introduction to the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Sister Nivedita has written a wonderful introduction, few pages, very powerful, beautiful introduction. We are celebrating 150 years of the birth of Sister Nivedita. She says that the Upanishads, Vedanta, Upanishads and Gita, the teachings of Vedanta are ancient. And they would have been there even if our master had not come. By our master, she means Vivekananda, because Vivekananda was her guru. Even if he had not come, these teachings would have been there. So what is the speciality of Vivekananda? What did he give? And he says, here is the speciality of Vivekananda. Here is the crowning achievement of our master. He said that the one and the many are the same reality, perceived by different spiritual seekers at different levels of spiritual evolution. Now what does that mean? It means that which you are trying to realize in spiritual life, God realization, Brahman, enlightenment, and that which you confront with your eyes open, samsara, job, family, they are not two different realities. This has to be understood. Often the great problem in our spiritual life is exactly what you have said. Here is God and here is the world. I have limited time and energy. If I see it in that paradigm, then almost always God will lose. Yes. Why will God lose? Because when you open your eyes, when you look around from the morning, what do you see? You see the world. You see people, you see a family, you see jobs, you see problems. That's the world, that's called samsara. You do not see God. God remains a matter of theory, a matter of faith, a matter of conjecture. And very soon, the practices devoted for God realization, they're pushed into a corner. And they become mechanical, they diminish, they become powerless. Because it's an important principle. What we think to be real, our attention always goes there. Reality draws our attention, time, and energy. Imagine, we get so involved in the dream. Why do we get involved in the dream? It's because we do not recognize the dream to be a dream. For the time being, when we see the dream, Shankaracharya says, Swakale Satyavad Bhati. When there is a dream, during the period of the dream, it seems to be real. Because it seems to be real, it draws our attention. The moment you get up and you say, oh, it was a dream, here is the reality. That was a dream. All your attention, energy comes to this, and you dismiss whatever you saw in the dream as just some appearance. Now, for us, this is the problem. This world has all the reality, and God has an assumed reality, an attributed reality, something based on faith. The same problem of doubt. It's infected with doubt, and it becomes weak, therefore. Now, Vivekananda strikes at the root of this problem. The solution is a very powerful and radical solution. He says there are not two realities. There are not two realities. There is only one reality. Brahman, misunderstood, is the world. The world right now, this world, correctly understood, properly appreciated, is none other than Brahman. What an incredible statement. Where is God? God is right here. When do we get God? After death? No, right now. And in what? In everything. In yourself. In that case, it begs a question, if God is right here, right now, and in everybody, in myself also, then it should be evident to me. And Advaita Vedanta says it is evident to you. You are missing it. The problem is not that you have to find God somewhere else. God is right here. It is hidden by our ignorance. We don't know what to look for. Advaita Vedanta does not give you an unknown God. A God which is continuously revealed, Advaita points it out to you. Swami Vivekananda's one of his most powerful lectures in this country was called The Open Secret. I think he gave it in London, in Jnana Yoga lectures. The Open Secret. It's a secret, no doubt about it. That's why we don't know it. But it's not a hidden secret. It's an open secret. Upon enlightenment, what will our realization be? Oh, it was not there. Now I have it. No, our realization will be, it was always there. Oh my God, I never saw it. I never realized it. It is always completely evident. It's as evident as the sun shining in the sky, more so. Sri Ramakrishna, when Narendranath asked him, have you seen God? He says, yes, just as I see you, even more clearly. What does that mean? Even more clearly than I see you. So it is this very reality. We have no time to go into the depths of it, but Advaita Vedanta shows us in our experience right now, in this experience, what is God. One example, Drigdrishya Viveka, the 20th verse. Asti bhati priyam rupam namam cheti angsha panchakam adya trayam brahma rupam jagat rupam tatodvayam. In every experience you have, these are the constituents: isness, existence, appearance in consciousness, and bliss, happiness, and a name and a form. You see around you. Name and form belong to samsara, existence, appearance or consciousness, and bliss are God, are Brahman. And it is coming everywhere, in every experience. The Kena Upanishad says, Prati bodha viditam matam. In every experience when you find God, you are enlightened. Not only in God experience, not only in samadhi, not only in a vision of God. In every experience, when you're looking at the world, you will find God. If this is so, you will say it's not so for us right now. True. But if the fact is that Brahman is right here, you see, we are mistaking the rope for a snake, the classic Advaitic example. Mistaking the rope for a snake. Now let me ask you a question. You're seeing a snake. It's really a rope. Even when you're seeing the snake, where is the rope? Where is the rope? Right there. You don't seem sure about it. Right there. Where you are seeing the snake, the rope must be right there. If I tell you that reality of this altar is wood, what do I touch? Wood. I'm touching the wood here. It's right here. If the reality of this world is Brahman, if that is so, actually so, then where is Brahman? Right here. In whom is Brahman? In everybody. Vedanta shows us how to appreciate that. In that case, whatever you do in life, whether it's in Vedanta society, in a temple, or in your corporate office, you are actually dealing with God. Vivekananda said, never approach anything except as God. Never approach anything except as God. You require a whole of Vedanta to actually understand this. But when you understand it, it's liberating, it's thrilling, it's electrifying. Neither you nor I have seen or experienced anything other than God all our lives, but we know it not. Vivekananda says. In that case, what follows? What is the relevance to your question? The relevance is this. Sister Nivedita says, if that is so, henceforth, no division between the sacred and the secular. She says, to have and hold is as stern a trust is to renounce and quit. As to renounce and quit. Become a sannyasi, run away to the Himalayas and meditate on God. You're in quest of God. You are right here in the middle of your life. You can equally well be, or even better be, in quest of God. Arjuna was asked to do his duty. He wanted to run away from that. He said, if you want to realize God, then again you have to do this. But now convert it into spiritual practice. How do you convert it into spiritual practice? Your corporate work. First of all, the idea must be clear that this is not different and God is not something different. I can find it here itself. Now, how can I convert this into spiritual practice? Is it not true that even in corporate work, let's leave spiritual practice alone for a while, even the work that you're doing in the corporate office, people do it for different reasons. Some are doing it for the money. Some are doing it for self-actualization. They want to be a better person. Some are doing it to express their talents. Some are trying to find satisfaction and fulfillment in it. Some, maybe the proprietor of the company, maybe the founder, if it's a small startup, it's an act of creativity, creation for that person, not to make money as such. It could be for different reasons altogether. Some might be just there for the company of other people. Doing a job because I like it. This is like my extended family. Somebody said, in this day and age when families have broken up, communities have broken up, people migrate all over the world, it is the corporations which take the place of families. Peter Drucker, he says. Many of the responsibilities which were fulfilled by family and community earlier are now, they have to be fulfilled by the corporation. And the corporation will say, no, we don't have that liability. We are limited liability. And Peter Drucker, none other than the greatest management guru of this age, he says, a true leader, he calls it a servant leader, he says a true servant leader is somebody who has unlimited liability. Mentally, spiritually at least. So anyway, that work itself is done by different people for different reasons. You can do it for God realization. Never approach anything except as God. Sri Ramakrishna says, Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. Serve all beings in the knowledge that they are none other than God. Shiva Jnane, knowing them to be Shiva, not imagining them, not thinking them to be Shiva, knowing that they are Shiva. If Vedanta is at all true, you can start with faith. You say, I don't get it. You may get it, but I don't get it. All right. They say in Uttarakhand, Jano ya mano. Either you realize it or you believe it. There are only two paths to religion. Again, these questions are connected actually. Two paths to religion. Either you start with faith or you realize it. If you cannot realize it, if it's not true to you, take it on faith for a while at least till it becomes clear to you. So the people you deal with, they are none other than God. The work that you do is a worship of God. And who are you? Your own reality is Brahman. You are dealing with Brahman all the time. Mental attitude. You don't have to tell your boss that or your client that. They'll think you're weird. This is a question which has to be answered. There are only two questions in life, spiritual life. How do I realize God? We think that's the only question. No, no, no. What do I do with my life? Look at the Gospel of Ramakrishna. In the second meeting, M, the author of the Gospel, he asks the first two real questions he asks Sri Ramakrishna. Exactly these two questions. What a perceptive person. M asks to Sri Ramakrishna the first two questions. These are the first 10 last questions. One. Before that, he tried to argue with Ramakrishna about this and that, but leave those things aside. Two questions. One. How do I keep my mind on God? It's a very pointed question. Not even how do I realize God? No, very clear. He knows that I have to keep my mind on God. How do I keep my mind on God? That was the question. And second question is, how do I live in the world? What a perceptive mind. The most important questions are the first and last ones he asks. A famous writer on Buddhism, I think Cornfield probably, he had this beautiful piece of writing. After the ecstasy, the laundry.
Oh.
So after all spirituality and spiritual retreat, meditation and this and that and mindfulness and so on and so forth, the laundry is still there.
Oh, okay.
Life is still there. You have got taxes, mortgages, jobs, problems to deal with. How do you spiritualize that? If you divorce the two, you are going to wipe out religion from your life, because those demands are so powerful, because reality is connected with that. Connect reality with God and see God. Wherever you find reality, say that reality is God. The name and form is what you see there. I cannot resist giving that funny story. I've told you earlier also. Spiritualizing life. Somebody asked me, what are the strangest places you have given talks? So one very strange place was in airport security. Passing through an airport in India, and just like you have TSA people here, so you have the CISF people, the Central Industrial Security Force. And there was nobody else. I was a transit passenger. And they said to me, they checked, they make you stand on a box and then they frisk you. So they said, Swami, in Hindi, kuch bataiye hum logon ko, tell us something, give us a talk. I said, here, now. And he said, yes, why not? And there was no other passenger. So he called the other policemen and policewomen. They stood around me, about 5 or 6 of them. And I gave them a talk. I was thinking, what should I say to them? I stood on that box and I gave them a talk. I said to that gentleman, when you go out from home, leave home early in the morning, do you worship God in some way? This is Uttar Pradesh. So he says, Haji, Hanuman ji ko phool chadhate hain. I put flowers at the feet of Lord Hanuman and then I come out for my work. And then I said, all right, all these persons passing through this scanner in front of you and you check them, do your job to the best of your ability, politely, calmly, firmly. And every time you check a person and let the person through, you mentally offer one more flower at the feet of Lord Hanuman. He was so delighted with this. His eyes lit up and he said, Are wah, din bhar Hanuman ji ka puja. How wonderful. Day-long worship of Hanuman, Lord Hanuman. We can say more about this, but this is the idea, to convert this. Even then, will life go on just as it is? You will see slowly it will not go on just as it is. It will change. Your priorities will change. So the way you do the work, maybe even the nature of the work you do, maybe even the place you work in, those things might change because they might not be in line with your core spiritual seeking anymore. I'll just leave it at that. Can you give the microphone?
Okay, I'm going to pause right here in a video. Okay, so am I talking now before I end the video? So, yeah, I was going to say Bhakti Yoga, very interesting. I guess mine's a little bit different. I don't, because I'm atheistic, agnostic, I don't think of it that way. I just, my perspective is understanding that if I choose this job, I have to understand that I have to take responsibility for the job itself. And if I don't like the job, then I either get a new job, or I understand that I have to get this job or keep this job, so I'm grateful. So if I choose to keep this job, then it's my choosing. If I don't like this job and I stay in it, what is my reason why I'm staying in it? Is it because it's actually it's a better job than others? Then I should be grateful. If it's a crappy job and there's no other jobs available, I should still be grateful, because otherwise I wouldn't have a job. That's how my mind works in terms of appreciating things. And that's the kind of, I guess, the mentality that I have in life. It's just appreciation of things, generally speaking. I don't know if there's things I don't appreciate. I'm sure there are. Just don't know what those things are. Probably bad people. Outside of that, generally speaking, life I appreciate. Things I appreciate. People being kind I appreciate. People not being bad I appreciate. I have low standards, you know. But yeah, that's how I go through life. It's understanding and appreciation, I suppose. Again, you know, that's the reason why, you know, if I have a lot of tasks, well, I may not like it, but I understand that I need to do it. I understand that I accepted this job. I understand that I accepted the responsibilities of this job. I understand I have to do my job. With all those things, then it's not really a conflict in my mind, because I chose to do this, and I am and I take responsibility for my actions. I guess it's pretty simple. I don't know if that's something people want to do or not. You know, I think devotion, that's actually not a bad idea, but again, if it may not work for non-religious people, should I say? So perhaps an alternate method would be something along the lines of mine. I mean, I'm not saying my thing works for everyone. I don't know how else would you do this kind of thing, because most of the times when you start dealing with external things, external factors, and it seems like to better your life, or to better the way you interact with things, seems to be bhakti, devotion to God, and to treat the world as God. But then again, or perhaps not even God. I guess if you look at Brahman as everything, it's Brahman, including yourself. Then, if you see it that way, I don't know. Most of the things he's talked about so far seems to be Bhakti Yoga, where you have this sense of duality and also the sense of devotion to God, and that you see God in everything, but still duality though. Because that just happens to be, I think that happens to be perhaps a true path to Bhakti is a duality's path. But hopefully eventually you become non-dual in that. I'm not too sure how. When you become enlightened or aware, that you become aware that, you know, this becomes non-duality anymore, where you see everything in God, including yourself. But like Sadhguru says, the easiest path is bhakti, devotion, which I completely agree. I think Raja is the hardest, because I think you have to have the other three calm down, or not interrupting your mind. Jnana, or karma, mostly your thoughts. Bhakti is love. I consider it an emotion, but that's actually karma as well. Your emotion, your thoughts, your body, you know, to meditate on oneself. But anyways, that's my reaction for part 1 for Ask Swami with Swami Sarvapriyananda. If you like more content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.